overseas to come help train him. We've been going through footage. We actually planned a real rescue mission that's coming up soon,
and he'll go on it.
He'll likely go on it and go undercover. And he's been training with our SEALs this week.
Wow. Close quarter combat training, CQC, just all the things. And he, of course, will be down there too to say, Tim, what would you do in this particular situation right here? And there's a lot of measuring. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, it just starts to, you start to get what this thing is. And then the film, when they go to edit it, it just comes, if you do it right, it's quite remarkable. It starts to take a life of its own. And hopefully it's better than even what we shoot.
2 + 2 = 5, some kind of a thing.
It's exactly right.
Operation Underground Railroad works with various jurisdictions around the world and various agencies, and I would imagine there is sometimes a frustration level depending on where you are operating in the effectiveness of what you're doing out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you this, probably 90% of the countries we work in, the case that we work with them is their first anti-trafficking case they've ever done. A lot of them have the laws on the books because of a lot of the international pressure that's in the last decade that's kind of been placed upon them. They have the laws, but then they say, well, what do we do? I mean, how do we infiltrate these trafficking organizations? And that's where we come in and say, well, we can teach you how to do it. From the digital forensic side, from, going undercover on the dark net, to physical undercover. What do you want? And we can teach you. We can bring you the tools. Unfortunately, this is a sad commentary on our own country, but we are in demand for child sex. I mean, the highest consumer of child pornography is the United States.
Shameful.
So that's why they can use our operators who are Western-looking, American-looking, and these law enforcement agencies, like in Colombia, for example, or Mexico, or wherever we're working, they can place us in the right place, sign us up as informants, and we can get in quick into the darkest parts of the trafficking networks. And so it's a challenge, mostly on the legal side, to make sure the prosecution is a good one, that the right precedents are being set. And we are kind of helping them through that. We have a full-time prosecutor on our staff who goes down and helps them see how they can apply their laws. So it's not just about the action and finding. That's actually the easy part of the whole thing, is finding the bag and sending the kids. It's so prevalent. The hard part is the political side, the prosecutorial side, the legal side, to make sure it's done right, to convince them, our partners, to have the courage to go for this and be the first to jump into this dark world.
I just want to say something that's quite remarkable. I was sitting in the operation room, and the great care of planning the operation, but once it's done, it's not as if they just leave, because the kids, they could be taken out, and there you go again, and what's going to happen to them? Probably suffer a lot worse. But when we take the children out, let's not bring them down to the jail cell. You have some 8-year-old child that's traumatized, and the care that they say, well, let's get them away from the facility. Let's put them in a place that's not a jail, and there's some beautiful area where they can relax and start to thaw. We were talking about the syndrome. The Stockholm syndrome that these kids have. They're terrorized, and what is that guy going to come back?
The sexual abuse for anyone is a traumatic experience that leaves horrific scars, especially on children. What happens to the children after you've rescued them, and can they ever really heal?
Yeah. The answer is yes, they can, and it's the most important part of our planning. Jim was there the other day. The first question we asked, we had the police up from this particular country that we're working in, and the first question isn't, where are we going to do the sting operation? How many bad guys are we going to? The first question is, how many kids do you think are going to be rescued on this operation, and what is the plan to heal them permanently? And that's where we come in. We have our aftercare department, and we start planning that first. Because if we can't figure that out, we're not going to do the rescue operation. And when you take these kids in, it's not just a short time. This is a lifetime potential. We're prepared to take these kids and put them in a place where they can heal for years and years until they're ready to stand on their own. We can't assume that there's parents waiting to receive them, because generally that's not going to happen. Because there was no family, that's why they got into this. And so that part is planned as delicately and as passionately, if not more so, than the actual sting operation.
One of the things that has made Operation Underground Railroad so successful is that it operates relatively obscurely. Now you're going to make a movie. Are you worried about whether that's going to affect your effectiveness and the safety of the jump teams that go in the future?
Yeah. No, I'm not, because it's a great question. It's something we have to consider. We're careful what we reveal in media, in this film. We will depict the techniques that we use that are things that are happening regardless of if we exist or not. For example, a sex party with children. That's every weekend in every major city in the entire world. So if we depict that technique as creating this, environment where the bad guys can show up and present who they are, and the evil in their hearts, well, whether they see it, the movie or me talking about right now or not, isn't gonna give us away, because they're doing that anyway. Now, there's certain things that we do, particularly on the cyber crimes, of things that we would never talk about, because they are things that there's direct countermeasures for. And if by chance someone does see this interview or sees the film, and they're about to set up a sex party in Thailand or India or wherever, and they think, what if this was Underground Railroad guys? Well, let's not do that. Well, good, hallelujah, then we won that one. They're thinking now. There's a deterrent. There's a potential consequence, and we have them somewhat on the run. So we're very careful with what we put out. The script is very carefully read by all of our executives, even U.S. government people that I trust, and we're very careful with our messaging all the time. And then if you come out like I'm doing right now in this interview, or if I select other people from my team, they no longer can do undercover work because they can't be recognized. But we have so many teams out that you'll never see their faces. So we're very cognizant of the danger of what we can say in public, and we only say those things that will help us and not hurt us.
What I loved about the screenplay, and believe me, I'm very picky when it comes to screenplays. I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is a fine screenplay, and I was lucky to be chosen, that Tim came to me for this. But know that it's going to be one hell of a challenge, and I never get the easy ones. This is going to be, but I love it. And what's different about this one is there's not great hope in it. It has such redemption in it. And the good guys win.
Jim, you are no stranger to physical exertion and danger in the roles that you have played. I'm thinking of your portrayal of Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Are you worried about your safety in this role?
Oh, I've got Jesus with me. I'm fine. I've got a great thing around. I'm worried about my safety. This is what I was born to do. It's like some people enjoy climbing Mount Everest, and this is kind of the Mount Everest of filmmaking, and it's worth dying for.
Are you afraid you might die?
Could happen.
Because, you were struck by lightning during the filming of The Passion of the Christ.
The film has to be finished before I can die. I'll be good.
Okay. Are you worried about his physical safety at all?
We're used to taking on those threats, and we have a plan for him, like we do for the rest of our team, to protect ourselves. And like Jim, we're a praying group, and we believe in that power. That's the ultimate power of protection.
Who's paying for this movie to come about?
I think Jim's. Aren't you from the building? And a great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved. From Mexico, JP, John Paul DeJoria.
Fox is helping distributing it.
Really?
Yeah, Fox, Century Fox.
And for the folks who don't know who Carlos Slim is, tell them who he is.
He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. Telecommunications in Mexico, Latin America. His son Patrick is the real the point of contact for that. He's very passionate about what we're doing and fighting trafficking. And there's several other groups that have come in to invest in this picture, and it's the people that have invested in it are true believers in what we're doing, and they are this is not just a movie, it's a movement, and they want to continue pushing that movement forward.
Who is funding Operation Underground Railroad, though? We know about the movie, but who's, because you guys are only expanding in
That's right.
in your operations.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we our machine is fueled by the kindness and the charity of people who will help.
Today.
Yeah, doTERRA, for example, Utah-based doTERRA, they're probably our biggest corporate sponsor. We're just there all afternoon. Mm-hmm. We're doing amazing things with their help. We're building aftercare shelters. We're providing amazing tools to law enforcement throughout the world. Mobile crime labs, detection dogs that can detect digital media that contain child pornography. Just cutting edge technology. That doTERRA is an example of one of our great helps. Especially again, they're here in Utah, and we just couldn't be happier with them and their kindness and their hearts to help us. And then the people. About half of our operations are funded by people who give $5. Around $5 to $20 a month. So people think I'm just giving $5 a month. What's that? That is funding half of our rescue operations. So
what is the schedule like? I mean, you're going to start shooting here in the next couple of weeks. When do you anticipate the film being ready to release, and what do you hope it accomplishes?
Well, from what I understand, they'll be done by the end of the summer, and sometime next year is when they plan to release it. They don't have an exact date yet. And everyone has the same vision. It's a shared vision from the producers to the directors to the writers to the actors, and that is, this is just the beginning. We have to get these stories out. People don't, you go back to the original abolitionists of the 19th century, they're our heroes. How did they strike the beginning of the end of slavery? It was telling stories. It was Harriet Beecher Stowe writing Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was Frederick Douglass getting out and telling his story. Harriet Tubman taking action and then telling the stories about what happened in that action. That's what people woke up to. And then they got so loud and they rose up so powerfully that it shook the government. And they had to act. And that was the beginning of the end. It was the people that rose. And so our hope is that that's what this movie will do. Just like maybe a modern day version of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Where it tells a story that awakens the world. And it's brilliant, the strategy, because really they're thinking about this right now. These are true believers from, like I said, the producers, the writers. So they picked an American star. They have a Mexican movie star, Eduardo Verástegui, who has a major role. They have a Colombian star. They have a star from Spain. And they're doing it on purpose because they want this film to be distributed throughout the world, so that we see, look, we have to come together. All these nations of the world need to come together. And the legislation we're working on with Senator Hatch and Congressman Mia Love, that is going to do the same thing. It's going to go along with the film, creating kind of the vehicle whereby we can all jump in. And so it has to be the beginning and the end of modern day slavery. And that's what this film is to do.
Jim, from where you sit, what do you hope to accomplish through this film?
Abolitionists, that it ends. But regardless, I tried to do something. And I don't want to be a guy that sits in the middle and makes a choice to do nothing. That is a choice. I'm blessed to know this guy. And, my job right now is to be great. And with God's help, I'll be phenomenal.
Actor Jim Caviezel from The Passion of the Christ.
Thank you.
And Tim Ballard from Operation Underground Railroad. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of Three Questions.
Thank you.
Wow. Oh, okay. That was phenomenal. I have to catch my breath. As undramatic as that might have seemed, it is so heavy when you think about the underlying subject of these children being tortured, raped, and killed. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Tim and to Jim